All right, we are live.
Live.
Well, we were kind of live.
Yeah. And then my phone started going off.
Oops.
hot mic.
Mics
Hot
are
mic.
live. Mics are live.
It's my first day. Sorry, boys.
Oh, man. Guys, welcome to week 3.
The only defeated team in the NFL left is the Las Vegas Raiders. It's pretty bad that we're the only team.
Texans are on.
They have a tie.
They have a tie.
Oh, they have a tie. That's right.
We're the only team that is
and
winless.
we were going up against the Tennessee Titans, who were also in the toilet bowl. They were 0-2, so it was whoever's going to win this game.
Well, that was the second week in a row that they played to. You know, it was a matchup of teams with wins.
Yeah.
We talked about this before the season, though, and like that, and how that division was going to be really good. And we said someone has to come in fourth. Well, I think we know who it's going to be now. I just don't see any signs of life. They have a lot of weapons. Carr's not playing like we thought he would, and the defense hasn't played bad. Really, they're not like they're getting blown out in these games. It's just not scoring.
Carr's not getting it done.
Yeah, you have Adams and Waller, and you have a decent running stable of running backs, and you can't get it done.
And one of the guys I saw on Facebook the other day said it he said it right. He's like, Carr throws it up and prays. Mm-hmm. And then you watch it, and it looks like he's already has whatever receiver picked out in his mind before he goes to that play, and he just picks it out and throws the ball where he thinks the receiver's going to be.
Yeah.
It's like he's not reading his progressions. He's not getting any better. We have zero running game. Josh Jacobs is basically irrelevant as it is.
Well, let's start with this. Over underwhelming commentary NFL week. I think we jumped right into it. So let's
we
do
did.
it.
We're too excited.
No, but I'm going to tell you. I think you're 100% right. Something that I saw with Carr there was they're saying that he's the coach killer. Saying he's the coach killer, and that all these coaches that have put together things to happen, he's ultimately, and now the fan base is starting to turn on him. And they already were you already had hot and cold with a lot of the fan base, but now you've got these guys really upset. These guys really fired up, and the reason they're fired up is because they're now able to see and show everybody exactly what they've been talking about for a couple of years now. Dump offs. It's always that short pass. It's trying to play it too safe. And even if you think about when Hunter Renfrow got lit up in that end of the on the fumble at the end of the Cardinals game, that wasn't necessarily the best. That wasn't the best spot to put the ball. He kind of put it behind him. He had to turn and catch it, and then turns to go upfield and gets smashed.
He was fighting for extra yardage on that, though.
No, he was when he got smashed,
it,
but it was behind him, so when
he
turned, he was already had a defender on him, and then he was trying to force it upfield. And then
even the two big gains to Matt Collins yesterday were like contested grabs. It wasn't like he was wide open.
Yeah, his touchdown grab was like...
It was heavily contested, and I thought he made a great catch, but yeah.
Way better catch than it was a throw.
Yeah.
Like, there was a terrible throw. If the defensive back's looking back, it's a pick.
Yeah.
Easily, because he reached over his head, and then he goes too small. I love the too small, though.
Yeah.
Do you see the too small when he did it? I love that right after he caught the ball, but, yeah, any good DB turns his head and picks that ball off.
Right. I mean, the division, I think, when we first started talking about it at the beginning of the year, and I mean, we're going to talk about... We're going to talk a lot about me being wrong today, right? There's going to be a lot of talk about wrong. Jimmy can't wait.
This is going to be his favorite episode.
But when we get into the AFC West, like the thing that we're running into here with the AFC West and what's happening with the AFC West is exactly what we thought. Any early matchups that the AFC West had, they were tough. They were all game planned for. As they step outside of the division... They didn't look at any of these teams. They didn't plan for. You cannot tell me that the Chiefs game planned for the Colts. There's no way, because they looked completely out of sorts.
Yeah, even Bieniemy. I don't know if you saw the clip of Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, and Mahomes getting into it on the sidelines. They didn't look like they game planned very well. I thought they felt like they were going to go in there and roll them. And it was going to be done, and hey, let's go celebrate because we're on a hot streak.
Well, you know what that argument was about was they decided to shut it down before the half, and Mahomes is like you can see him saying, "We can score on these guys we've got this, and Bieniemy's like, no, shut it down.
See, when you have Patrick Mahomes, you can score. You only need, how long do you need? 25 seconds?
Yeah, you don't need much.
You don't need much.
No.
So if you have any amount of time left, and if I'm the coach, and I have any time left on the clock, I'm giving the ball to him and saying, go give me some points.
If he comes to me and tells me, give me the ball, let's go,
100%.
I'm handing it to him and I'm going after it. And the reason I'm going after it is because that guy's proven time in and time out he's going to get it done.
Yeah, and then that's the only positive for the Raiders' standpoint of the whole thing is that the Chargers lost. Obviously Justin Herbert's banged up. The Chiefs lose, and Denver wins. And I didn't watch the game, and I'm glad I didn't. Now that I saw the final score was 11-10, I was like, I'm glad I didn't watch that game because it sounds painful.
It was
to watch. I'm
awful.
glad 11-10. I was like, what in the hell is going on? So even when Denver wins, it looks like garbage.
And what's weird about the Denver thing is Russell Wilson was not accurate at all. Like, I would bet you if you go back and you went through those throws, there might have been 5 accurate throws, and 4 of those 5 were dropped. Literally, like, the throws were so off in some parts of the game that his receivers are turning and, like, really don't have a chance for him, or if they do, they make a miraculous catch with no yardage. And then you turn around and you hit the guy when you're supposed to, and it's almost like they're expecting you to throw it bad. I don't know what's going on there. I will tell you this, though. It's must-see TV. Tune in weekly so you can see 2 bad coaching calls weekly every time the Broncos take the field.
Yeah, is he going to be the first coach fired?
100%.
I'm surprised he's not gone today.
Yeah. If they would have lost last night, he would have been gone.
You think
Oh,
so?
100%. If they lost last night, they're cutting the cord and saying, we got to get off this train right now.
I can't recall
he is
the last
so
time
bad.
that I saw a coach that right off the jump at the beginning of the season, I'm like, this guy is a dumpster fire. There's one that, like, I don't believe in this guy. That's one thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing to be able to look at it and go, A, B, C, D, E. It's enough.
So how long does he last? How long does he
Maybe
last?
2 more weeks.
If they win, he'll keep his job. As long as they're winning. As soon as they go in a losing streak, he's gone. John Elway cannot get him out of there fast enough.
I mean, they should have lost last night with Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of bounds for the safety and not realizing it. So, I mean, that was a call on itself. But, like, they should have lost last night. They should have lost.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you see the tweet by Dan Orlovsky, by the way?
Oh, yes,
He, like,
we
all
did.
capital letters, he's like basically like, thank you. Like,
He has it up
It's
now.
right here. I've never been happier.
How awesome is that? Because as the quarterback, for God's sake, you know where you're hiking the ball.
Yeah.
That just shows you that you're mentally not in the game.
Yeah.
You're so worried about everything else that you run out the back of the end zone.
I think that Orlovsky's was way worse because he ran like a good 5 yards before he realized that he was out of bounds. And then basically saw the ref like get his face and he looks down.
He's like,
so that was way worse. But he was the butt of every joke because he was the last guy to do it.
I love the fact that he's in a position where he can actually go out, though, and now call this guy out, and no one can say anything about him calling him out.
Freedom, because he's
the retribution there is amazing. Niners didn't look good last night. My one fun, good takeaway, like my overreaction was, they got Brandon Ayuk involved in the offense, and I know they didn't move the ball a lot, but he did score a touchdown, and he looked good on the touchdown when he scored the touchdown. That's big for that team because I think that he is actually a lot bigger of a player for them than people realize.
I like Ayuk quite a bit, especially when he was coming out of college. I think that personally he can't wait to get out of San Francisco. I think that once he becomes a free agent, he's going to sign somewhere that's going to use him the right way. Let's face it, like San Francisco, they are still a good team, but they want to run the ball and they want to run it and then run it some more. So they don't really need 2 stud receivers and a stud tight end that can also catch it. They don't need all those offensive weapons. They can sure use them, but they don't really need them. So like they want to run the ball. I think Ayuk goes somewhere else when he's a free agent, and he ends up doing really well. Like to me, he's a guy that I'm looking to buy in Dynasty for sure.
Yeah, he looked good last night. I was surprised how good he looked because you hadn't heard much from him,
Right.
so it was nice to see him get involved. Now, you mentioned Herbert and the Chargers. They did have a loss. However, Herbert is the fastest to 900 receptions. He did it in 35 games, doing it faster, career completions, 900 completions, than Matthew Stafford. So Just kind of a neat note when you think about it, because he hasn't been around that long.
No.
And he's one of those guys that I think you can go around the room and everybody's going to say he's a prototypical NFL quarterback. He's a guy that, and he shows that he has good character. He shows that he's got guts because he's going out there right now with a broken cartilage in his ribs, and he's still playing the game. Like, obviously, he said he had some discomfort with it. He didn't look right out there. He was definitely in some pain. So my take on a Herbert situation is they probably should sit him down for 2 to 3 games, let their backup play. Hopefully they don't fall too far in that division. They could still try to win him and make the playoffs. But you can't have a guy that's your franchise. That's not just this year, but he's your franchise for the next 10, right? We all believe that he'll be here for a good solid 10 years playing the quarterback for him. Like, don't ruin this guy's career because he's getting beat up.
All over the place. Like, they lost Keenan Allen to injury, and then Rashawn Slater now is out. They beefed up that offensive line, and Austin Eckler isn't running. Like, he has 80 yards rushing for the year.
Yeah, 3 games.
80 yards rushing for the season. Like, I don't know what happened there. That's the guy you're talking about as a first-round pick in all fantasy drafts, Austin Eckler. And then Jalen Guyton just got hurt. He tore the ACL. So he's out for the year.
Yeah, he's out.
So Palmer's stock goes up, obviously, but Keenan Allen is supposedly coming back this week. He was at practice today, so that's a good sign. But, yeah, it's kind of a hot mess right now in L.A. for the Chargers.
Yeah, we were looking at this division as the toughest division. Now it's looking like it's definitely not the toughest.
No,
with the Chiefs
NFC
looking like they're definitely beatable. You're looking at the Chargers, definitely beatable. Raiders, obviously, they haven't had a win. And the Broncos. The Broncos got a good defense. That's what you could say about
it. As weird
them.
as it sounds like, I actually think, and I know they don't have a win, I still think that the Raiders are probably better than the Broncos.
The Broncos have a great personality.
Really? Yeah, no, exactly. You know.
Well, if you look at the Raiders game, they were all one-possession games.
Right.
Like, they should have won all 3 games. They were in every single game. Yeah. They should have won all 3 games, and they just didn't get it done.
You know, and that's the same thing. We'll go to the South really quick. Talk about Tennessee Titans. Not Tennessee Titans. I don't know what they did this week. They gave Derrick Henry the ball a little bit more, and all of a sudden it showed up.
They did, yeah.
You know.
Go ahead.
I still don't know that. I still don't know that they. I don't know that they're gonna be able to right the ship there. I just don't see it. And I don't think that O-line is very good. I actually think that O-line looks old.
They lost Taylor Lewan too, which is one of their big catalysts. So yeah, that's big trouble for them. But talk about that division. Jacksonville Jaguars, we thought they would be a year away probably from competing. Mm-hmm. Man, they look pretty good.
We did say we thought they could win 7 or 8 games.
They could have won week 1. They had the lead late, and they ended up giving it up to the Washington Commanders. So they could be sitting at 3-0, because didn't they win last week too?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, so they could be sitting at 3-0.
And T-Law's doing exactly what Jimmy...
Doug Peterson.
Exactly. And what Jimmy said that was going to happen, which was with a good coach in there, and an offensive line that's beefed up where he's not having to get rid of it on a step and a half, and he can take 3 to 5 step drops. He is able to get rid of the ball where it's supposed to be, and the ball is accurately placed on time.
Could you imagine though if Trevor Lawrence had a weapon like a Jalen Waddle or a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson? Like, he's got Christian Kirk.
Right.
His 2 top guys are Christian Kirk and Zay Jones.
He's making Christian Kirk a star. Let's talk about that's important.
Well, yeah.
You have quarterbacks. We've seen it with Mahomes. Mahomes takes the next guy up and makes him a star.
Yeah.
Right?
Aaron Rodgers makes every wide receiver a star.
Yeah.
Right? You play for him.
Well, there he is, making a star.
No, and that's the thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, James Robinson's, he's the real deal. Last year he had over 1,000 yards rushing. And then everybody read him off this year because Etienne's coming back.
He got hurt.
Yes, and then now he's hurt. And guess what James Robinson does? Steps right in there, and he's putting up like 20 points a game in fantasy every week.
Nobody thought that James Robinson was going to come back that fast from his injury.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was ready to go by week 1, because they were talking about possibly putting him on the PUP list to start the season. So the fact that he came back and he was ready for week 1, and not only ready, but carries a full workload. Like, Etienne to me is just like, I don't want to say chopped liver, but like...
He's definitely the backup.
He's just a guy. Yeah, he's just a guy, it looks like so far.
I had him in fantasy. I took him in one of my teams early, and he has resulted in nothing. I've sat there. I've been the guy that, unfortunately, has taken that other side of it, which is Etienne's just not performing, and you're watching Robinson do it.
And he did it last year. He's a stud. Like, we were pulling his cards last year, and everybody's like, oh, James Robinson.
Yeah.
Oh, James Robinson. I'm like, this kid's he's going to rush for 1,000 yards again this year. He's on pace to actually do almost 1,500 yards.
And the knock against him was, like, everyone said, like, oh, it's not this regime's guy. Like, they didn't draft this guy. Well, he's an undrafted rookie running back when he came out. He was undrafted. So he wasn't anybody's guy, really.
They all passed on him.
Yeah, I would say, so he wasn't last year's regime. He wasn't Urban Meyer's guy. And guess what? He's not Doug Peterson's guy. But guess what? The guy's still producing. So
he's got to be in the top 3 for running backs, right?
Yeah, he is.
He's definitely way up there.
Points,
He's been unreal. And, that division, the Texans, to talk about the Texans, first off, here's me starting. I said there's going to be a lot of where I was wrong. And the Texans, I said I thought their defense was going to give up 20 to 32 a game. That is not the fact. That defense is really good.
Mm-hmm.
That defense is good, and I think that they play together another 6 games, and you've got a shutdown defense possibly there. It's actually a lot better than I thought, and some of those second, third, fourth round picks that they took that were defensive players are playing like they should have been first rounders.
And I think that whole division is up for grabs. Like, I don't think it's just
100%.
a cakewalk for Indy or Tennessee to just flip a switch and turn it on. That's up for grabs. So Texans could very easily sneak in and win that division.
Yeah.
My money's on Jacksonville with the way they play. Like, if everyone stays healthy, like I think they can win that division hands down.
It's 1 year sooner than I thought they would be. I'm pleasantly surprised watching because they actually look like they want to play out there.
Can you imagine if Jacksonville makes the kind of run that Cincinnati did last year? And I'm not saying all the way to the Super Bowl, but if they get to the playoffs and just say they win a playoff game. Dude,
I see what you're seeing. Yeah,
through the roof, dude.
Well, and
they don't have to go to the Super Bowl. Just make the playoffs and then win a game in the playoffs, and it's like, here we go. Like,
he's the next coming. Yeah.
The to the moon concept is definitely there for him. He, I think the hobby needs it because you've got some really, really bad storyline stuff, and we go back. We had Trey Lance gone for the season. Mac Jones didn't break his ankle, but it looks like a high ankle sprain.
He looked like he got shot.
The way he shot his leg off.
The way he was reacting to it, like, you're a grown man, for God's sakes, in the NFL, and you're looking like he looked like he was dying.
Yeah. There's a coach and a player, and he's got his arms around them, and they're walking him back to the back, and he's like, it looks like he's almost in full tears. You would have thought he snapped his ankle.
He came trying to walk off the field. He was crying, visibly screaming, crying out loud. It definitely didn't do anything for him as a player stock. And this is a guy that's already was getting knocked a little bit coming into the season, and now here we are. And now you're going to kind of look at me. Got Brian Hoyer as a backup.
How do you not
play for a few weeks.
How do you not question his toughness though? Like, if you're a player, like, how do you not question his toughness?
No, that's it. When you lose the locker room, and I'm going to tell you, Belichick's at that point in his career. You can't lose the locker room.
No.
You can't. He don't care because he's not there much longer anyways. Yeah. So he's not there to make friends or make you happy or, sugarcoat and worry about you next year. He's not. He doesn't care what you're feeling.
So let's look at the 2021 class of quarterbacks. Yeah. So we had Mac Jones outselling everybody last year, which we all said in this room, this is absolutely crazy. Do not jump on the hype. Yes. Yeah. Do not jump on the hype. That's a good defense that kept him in games. They won a lot of games because of the defense. Mm-hmm. We were telling you, buy Trevor Lawrence. The only guy in this draft is Trevor Lawrence. You should be doing. Trey Lance comes out, starts week 1, breaks his ankle. Yeah. He's done. Justin Fields is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think it's already shown. He's been 3. He played a bunch last year, on and off in games and out. He started all 3 games this year and looks terrible. Who do we have left in that? Davis Mills.
It's and the 2 guys that we've been talking about. The
only 2
quarterbacks that are big, that stand in the pocket, that throw a firm ball, that can throw the deep ball, and they can hit the outs. They're the only 2 with good footwork in the entire draft were those 2. And Zach Wilson, I guess we're going to see once he comes back, maybe he's number 3.
In my eyes, he's too small. He looks small out there. When you watch Zach Wilson hit all this stuff, he looks little.
Exactly. If the best thing you can say about Zach Wilson is let's wait till he comes back from injury and see, then he's already lost. Because, we see it with Lance, and I'm still not ready to write Lance off because he's so young. Like, they drafted him at 20 years old. So I'm not ready to write him off yet. Mac Jones, never was really impressed with him. Zach Wilson is a wait and see, obviously. Justin Fields, I own in a super flex league, and I'm so mad at myself for going against what my own belief was.
Yeah.
And I've always said it, and I've told friends, do not draft Ohio State quarterbacks once they get to the NFL. I don't care.
He said it as long as I've known him. And it's almost 20 years. Do not draft them.
They're good in college, and they're studs in college, and I agree that they're studs. They win national championships, or at least get there. They suck in the NFL.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They can put receivers, though.
And running backs.
And absolutely.
They suck. Their quarterbacks suck.
So that, and then obviously, I mean, Tannehill and the Titans, I don't think anybody believes in that squad. Derrick Henry's going to get beat up. I don't see him making it through the season, to be honest.
If my Giants can beat you, you're not a very good team. And we're going to see that tonight when we beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Guaranteed. Tennessee actually gave that game up when they played the Giants. They literally dominated that entire game.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of took their foot off the gas.
Well,
they did take their foot off the gas, but it does take another team to put their foot on to make it happen.
Are we going to talk all about the Miami-Buffalo game?
Well, no, we definitely are going to get there. Okay. I think the more important thing to talk about right now, though, is that in the NFC, you had a matchup of what was being billed as the GOATs going against each other, which I thought was a little weird because I don't know how Aaron Rodgers compares to Brady's resume. He doesn't. And I get that Aaron Rodgers beat Tom Brady yesterday, and I know that you want to do that. And if this is Brady's last season, this is going to give that calling card. This is the only thing he has to hold on. And if you want to talk about the Super Bowl that the Seahawks had at the beginning of the season, the first game of the season, this was Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl this year. This was his moment. He had this on the radar. He had to beat Tom Brady.
Well, you could just see how giddy he was after that game.
Yeah.
He was like a little kid on Christmas Day. He was like walking around like all bouncing. Like Aaron Rodgers never does that, right?
Yeah.
He's always like that. Oh, woe with me, I'm just gonna go play my guitar. Like he's not that guy. He's not the guy boasting and happy and stuff. And after this game, it looked like he was a little kid. It's like, what the hell did you just? You literally only put up 14 points?
Yeah, they went 14-12.
Like. 14 points in the NFL? Are you kidding?
Aaron kind of gave us a snippet of exactly what you're talking about.
So you come all the way down and talk to Matt LaFleur during that final drive with the defense on. What was going through you during the 2-point conversion, especially after you saw the fact that they took the 5-yard penalty?
Well, they should have on the previous play, too. It was a delay on both plays. But sometimes you see things in the game. Sometimes the Jumbotron shows things they probably shouldn't show, even at home. I saw something and just passed on the information.
You said you...
You know, and the whole thing was, it was so important to him that he's paying attention to stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And he's looking at the Jumbotron, and apparently what he did was he saw what they were calling offensively because the Jumbotron was showing either the sideline or the huddle.
It was a huddle.
Huddle, and he was able to see what they were calling, went over and told them, and then all of a sudden, if you go and look at the 2-point conversion, there's 3 guys covering on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
And
Brady should never threw that ball there. That just shows you, like, Brady, we've been saying it since day one. He doesn't look right out there. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. He's trying to get through the season as best as possible. If they hit a 4 or 5 game slide where they don't win games in 4 or 5 games, I think he's going to punch his ticket and walk away.
And that's what sucks is that why not go out like not on top like you won a Super Bowl, but you're clearly one of the better teams in the NFL at that point when he retired. You come back for your swan song. It's like I don't know. To me, I don't get it. I don't understand why he would come back. Obviously, it pissed off his whole family.
Right. Anthony mentioned the haircut.
That's what I'm talking about. Rodgers. He's the dual type of guy.
Shrooms. He's told the NFL he was doing shrooms in the offseason.
Do you think that if he didn't take ayahuasca in Peru, do you think he would have been looking at the Jumbotron? Because I say no. I say no.
That locked him in.
The ayahuasca locked him in.
Licking that frog definitely helps him lock in for the NFL season.
I'm going to tell you something. Staying in the South, Marcus Mariota is trying to play for a job. He may not look great, but I think coming into the season, the bench line for comparison was going to be him and Trubisky on how they commanded the teams they went to because they were kind of in the same situation.
I see where you're going here.
And he looked significantly better this week than he has even before. He's getting the ball out. He's doing the things the offense needs. And, I mean, again, they're not a great team, and I think we all know that. We were kind of on the fence. You were saying the Bears might be the worst team. I was kind of on the Falcons. We kind of,
the Falcons are 2-1, aren't they?
Yeah.
Falcons are a pretty decent team, and I would definitely not want to go there and play them. On the road, they're probably beatable. I don't know if at home, though,
they just
you
won in
really
Seattle.
want to play. I know, and I get
They
that.
played some weak teams in the first 3
The
weeks.
12th fan, have you ever been to that stadium?
Never.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I have.
You see how loud it is there.
Oh, I know how loud it gets. Still not as loud as Autzen, but it gets loud.
But the way it's built is like up, and down.
They're on
so
top
everything
of you,
echoes, so it just stays in there. It's like it's super loud. So to go in there and win,
But I think all of
Seattle's
us said it when Mariota went there. We said that's the perfect guy
Yeah.
to stay in there until you get a new rookie quarterback that's going to take over. He's not going to win you games, but he's not going to lose you games. He's going to play good. He's going to do what he needs to do. I think who's the number one receiver there?
Drake London.
Drake London has shown that he's better than a lot of people expected because he was hurt at the end of college coming into this. Now he's putting up some big numbers.
Yeah.
The thing we need to talk about though is all these wide receivers. These rookie wide receivers are good.
Yeah,
and
that's been a trend for the last 3 years, though. Dude, there hasn't been too many receivers that you've been like, oh, this guy's garbage. Like we talked about that before. Chase, Waddle, Justin Jefferson coming out.
Wait. Okay, so go 2020. Really, we're going 1, and then there's a 1A, which is probably Gabriel Davis, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would put him in that.
2020.
Yeah. Not up there with
And then
Justin
in
Jefferson.
2021, we're going to go Chase. We're going to go Waddle,
Devontae
right?
Smith.
And Devonta Smith. And those are all legit. And now you go to 22, and you're going Dotson, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks looks good even though he hasn't got the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Olave looks like a freaking stud. You can go down the list. There's guys that were second rounders that are almost the best receivers on their
Pickens, too.
roster.
Carl Pickens is
George Pickens is
yeah.
unbelievable.
George Pickens is
George,
stud.
right? And then, you start looking at and it's almost like every year we're getting more and more and more of this top level.
It just shows you the mindset of the actual player now in high school ball. The high school player, the best athlete always used to go, and we talked about this before in the past. The best player on the field used to be your running back.
Yep.
Your quarterback and your running back, two best players on the field. Yep. Now those guys are realizing, hey, I'm not going to make the NFL and make money as a running back.
Yep.
I could go play a wide receiver. I could even be down in size like a Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
These guys that are not prototypical 6'4", 210-pound wide receivers, they're still going out there and making a name. Why? Because the best athletes are now playing wide receiver. On almost any football field if you go to,
even
they're all playing wide receiver.
Yesterday against two really good
corners,
DBs for the Tampa Bay had a hands up game.
We said that he was going to be the guy that was going to have to kind of pick up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he has to do it a little early, but maybe him and Aaron are getting on the same page. We'll see. But the receivers, now we talked about it because we said if you were going to invest in anything out of the 22 product, it was the receivers, not the quarterbacks.
Right.
And if it was going to be the quarterbacks, literally it's one. Right.
But now I'm getting to the point where, so now nobody's talking about these 2022 quarterbacks, and you can literally get them for nothing.
Yeah.
You have to look at the situations that these guys are in, and if they have the opportunity, like the Kenny Pickett's and the Ritters, and these guys that are going to get an opportunity to play at some point this year, their cards are never going to be lower than they are right now.
No.
Malik Willis, another one.
Another one.
Sam Howell is a complete steal. He's a guy that was a late round guy. Not on anybody's radar whatsoever. You can get his autos for next to nothing.
You can pick these guys up for
He
cheap.
could be that Davis Mills-ish, even better, even Hurts-ish kind of, in a way, type player that if Washington can't quite get it done and they move on from Carson Wentz, he's going to get a chance.
The risk
He's
is worth the reward because even if you strike out on it and Howell ends up being nothing, you didn't lose anything. Like these guys are dirt cheap right now. So like if you strike out on them, you strike out on them.
No,
but at least you can go out there and you can grab some of their bigger products right now, the bigger stuff that they're in, and you get them for nothing. Put them away. Don't even look at them for the next year. Wait until next off season when these guys actually get a full off season. They're into starting roles. They're gonna. Two of the four are going to be starters next year.
Between the Ritter Pickett bet that we have, because Mariota has been looking pretty good there. If neither one of those guys plays this year, does our bet carry over to next year, or is it
it's off? Because I know for sure Pickett's starting next year.
Pickett's going to start this year. Pickett will get in this year. I'm less likely to think.
Tomlin said he does not plan on playing him.
I know, but I'm less bullish.
That team,
on Trubisky than I was before.
However, if Trubisky is starting, you should bet every single game against the Steelers.
Yeah.
They are not going to win any games. They're not going to cover many games. That team is not good.
But
They're in the bottom half.
This
for
is
sure.
the only reason I took Pickett. It wasn't because I believe that Pickett is a superstar. It's because it's a Pittsburgh guy who went to college in Pittsburgh, and if they come out and they start losing and Trubisky looks bad, that whole fan base is going to be screaming, please bring in Pickett. So I know Tomlin says, well, I don't want to do this, but like, does he want to tarnish his season too and be like, no, I'm going to stick with Trubisky and we're going to only win 4
Tomlin
games.
needs to start looking out for Tomlin.
Right.
Because if he doesn't start looking out for himself, guess what? Yes, you are one of the coaches that everybody loves in the league.
Right.
Everybody looks at you as a great coach. You won a Super Bowl. But guess what? That only lasts a certain amount of time.
Well, and the whole thing is too is now is the whole concept is develop the young quarterback, get the young quarterback ready to go, get him in when it's time. They're ready sooner.
Playing him on his rookie contract.
Yeah, and you are in a chance to do that right now with a decent defense. I don't want to say their defense is great, but it's pretty good. They've got some really nice players. Obviously, T.J. Watt is a big deal for them.
He's out. He's out for a while.
He's out for a few more weeks.
He's out for a few more weeks. They said it was going to be surgery, but they ended up not being surgery, like the torn pec or whatever.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see when he comes back. Now, when franchises don't believe in a quarterback, you hear all the rumblings. You hear the trade offers, the you want out, the this and that. You saw coaches being fired. You saw all this stuff. This happened yesterday, and we're going to talk about
this big dog, but Tua, I respect your toughness, big dog, but you got to sit this one out, bro. You're not okay, bro. You're not okay, bro. Sit this one out, coach. You're going to be all right.
So Tua, obviously, that's a concussion.
You see the pothole? Like, what is going on in Miami? That pothole he stepped in on the way back to the
I know, right?
He looked like he stepped on a crack to break his mom's back.
No, the pothole, like, get that field fixed.
They are now so invested into him. Whereas at the end of last year, they were willing to still move him. And
they
now
tried all
offseason for him, and he's been accurate again, throwing a decent ball. His deep ball isn't perfect, but it doesn't matter. He's got guys that can make up for it, and that's what matters this year for him. He has looked really good, obviously. He had a massive week last week, and gutting it out like he did. You want to talk about a guy who won over the locker room? That's that guy, because every single player on that team knew he was in concussion protocol. Now, the Dolphins have said Tua is not in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a back situation. That's what they're saying.
Like a back spasm.
And if it's a back situation, what is that really? I think we all know. Dude had a concussion. Tua's not coming out. Tua is on this. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove myself. Everybody's doubted me. I come out of that 20 class. Everybody wants to talk about Herbert and Burrow, and they wanted to talk about me before, but now they want to talk about these.
Well, you got to think about it though. When Tua was in there, he was playing for Alabama. Guess what? He beat out. Guess who? Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Guess what Jalen Hurts is doing? Putting up huge numbers in Washington or in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Tua beat him out. Not like they just went into the same place and they both had an opportunity to win that job with Nick Saban.
Made him transfer.
And Tua won the job. He transfers out, goes to Oklahoma, puts up big numbers there, and then now he's at Philly doing great things. But Tua's a good quarterback. He's accurate. Everybody's always said below 15 yards, he's accurate as all get out. But guess what? Now you have the ultimate threat. When you have Tyreek Hill that can go get any ball that you throw, doesn't matter where you throw the ball, he's going to go catch it. It makes up for the lack of accuracy.
If you remember, we had that conversation about those 15-yard throws that to the other wide receivers that weren't named Jalen Waddle last year, they weren't able to be progressed on. Those were 15-yard receptions, and that was it. Now, when Tyreek Hill gets it, it's a 15-yard at the point of catch and 10 to 15 more yards
after catch.
So it's a big difference, and that taking the top off of it, and it's done exactly what we thought, which was, and I'm still going to stand by it, I still think Waddle was the best receiver out of the class last year. That's my own opinion based on route running. I think he's very good. I get the Jamar Chase allure. He's fun and he's fast and all that. He also has shown that he can be covered pretty easy this year, and that's happened a couple of times already. Now you're going to see Jalen Waddle not be double covered, get to be the single on guy, because let's be fair, Jamar Chase had T. Higgins over there, and I actually think T. Higgins is a top tier receiver. So those guys, now you're going to get a chance to actually see them.
I think the knock on Tua was never that he wasn't good. I think it was more just the injuries. Like, you're waiting for like the next big hit, and it's like, how long is he going to miss now? That's happening. I think that was the knock on him, was more the injury thing, not so much he wasn't good.
Well, and let's mention this, before we get too far off of it, which is when Tua goes down, it's a dirty play. It's a dirty play by the Bills, and this is the second time this year that there's already going to be disciplinary discussions in regards to dirty plays, and I would guess that coming down from the NFL is probably going to be something along the lines to the coaching staff of, this happens again, one of you guys is going with them.
Yeah, because it's 2 weeks in a row now that they do. That defense is nasty. They're dirty. They come to play, but I like that. As a defense, I would love to have that every single week.
Yeah.
You know that the other team is afraid to play them because they're going to come up and punch you right in the mouth. They don't care. There
was a tackle in the Chargers game, or not the Chargers game, the week before, when the Bills played. Who did they play the week before? I remember this.
They beat the hell out of Tennessee.
And I want to say, I think it was Carlos Basham. While they were down, there was kind of a scrum, and he had the face mask of a guy.
Smashing his head.
And was lifting his head up and smashing it down while they were fighting for the ball in the pile. You could just kind of see him. And I was just like, that's coaching, that's not... Because that stuff doesn't fly. If your defensive coach says that stuff's not okay, it doesn't happen.
Well, you saw the coach smashing his head,
the
smashing the paper. Yeah, it was great.
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, he was like throwing it down and flipping it. You could tell he wanted to win that game so bad.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Them losing that game 21-19, I actually did a little bit of digging on that. They were completely dominated by the Bills. Like, I know that the Bills lost, right? So that's why if you're like, oh, Miami's the best team in that division, think again. Slow down. Think again, because they're going to get a chance to play each other again, and I would be willing to bet anything. The Bills just absolutely
I guarantee the line 7 to 7.5 the next time they play.
The numbers on this, they outgained Miami 497 yards to 212, and they ran 51 more offensive plays than the Dolphins did. 51 more offensive plays.
And the Dolphins had one of the most iconic plays probably in a long time.
Bills are out of timeouts. The snap to Morstead. This kick is partially blocked high into the air. The Bills, it'll sail out the back of the end zone. It's a safety. It's a safety. And the Bills had 2 on the board.
Kicks it right off his butt.
It's
right in the ass. Kick him right in the ass.
I was watching the game with my dad, so we're sitting there watching the game. And my dad's like, wait. Did he just kick that directly behind him? That's almost impossible. I said, there's no way. There's no way. An NFL punter kicks the ball backwards. I said, these guys kick the ball so much, there's no way. I go, somebody had to deflect it something. And then they go to the replay, and sure enough, kicks the guy right in the ass.
They had the still pictures. He literally kicked him right in the ass. Like, the ball went right up in there.
He did. He kicked him right in the ass. And it was funny because... Mark Sanchez came out with a tweet that said, "Stay out my lane."
Oh, that's the best.
Which was great.
He should have copied Orlovsky's.
He should have.
But that game was actually later.
Yeah.
Orlovsky's game was there. That would have been great.
But it was funny to see. But what's funny to me is that in that situation, the broadcast team had no idea what happened and they didn't know how to explain it, and it literally just became a bunch of ums and uhs.
Yeah.
I think it must have been blocked.
And that's why my dad was like,
no one knew.
What just happened here? I'm like, oh my God. Could you imagine?
You're the guy that got kicked? Like this dude's doing full speed. It wasn't like he let up at the last second. Like, it was a full speed, hard as he can kick.
Right in your ass.
Dude, that had to hurt. I'm telling you.
Because they don't wear butt pads. I know when we all played high school ball, and we had the butt pads that were big and bulky for our tailbone. Damn well none of them even wear pads in their pants anymore.
That had to hurt.
Yeah, that's great.
The rest of the AFC East, not looking so good. The Jets, they get Wilson back. We'll see. They got some nice pieces. Garrett Wilson's really good.
They look good against Cleveland.
they look good against Cleveland, but even at that, I think Cleveland beat themselves in some facets. We talked about the clock management issues, all that stuff. And I just don't think that anybody thought that Flacco was going to be magic again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But they were respectful in the game. It was close. For a while, it felt like they had a chance to be in it and win it. Maybe, I don't think anybody believed it, but they're not very good. You know what I'm saying?
But we said it last week. Like even you said it, Jimmy. Was that if Cincinnati has to win this game against the Jets? If they lose against the Jets, their season's over. They had to win that game. So you just kind of knew that was going to happen. They're not going to lose to the Jets.
Well, and that's where I think was big is like you kind of had that turnaround, which from a hobby standpoint was really big because if Burrow had another week like he was having. People were going to set their houses on fire. It's bad enough that the people that gambled yesterday didn't set their houses on fire. So the fact that didn't happen is probably good. I don't know that it elevated Burrow's numbers at this point, but I think it at least got people to take a deep breath for a second, say, okay, he's not throwing 7 picks a game. He's not getting sacked 27 times.
No, but if you would have said last week or even beginning of the season, let's say, if you would have said, hey, 3 weeks into the season, 2 of those 2020 quarterbacks are going to be 3-0, and the other 2 are going to be 1-2. You never would have picked. You would have said Burrow and Herbert are going to be the guys that are 3-0, not Hurts and Tua.
Yeah.
You would have had it flip-flop. So the fact that class is doing what they're doing, you know that the Chargers are going to get back on the right track, and the Bengals will be respectable.
I don't think the Bengals are that good.
I don't think the playoffs, but they'll be in a respectable position at the end of the year.
I think the offensive line for the Bengals, which last year I think just played out of their mind. I just don't think.
Defense.
I just don't think they. I don't think they're good enough to sustain the season. And they showed it early on that they weren't a very good line, and I think that's still going to be there. I just think that when you played the Jets, you weren't getting the pass rush that you're going to get when you play a team like the Bills or take those top 10 to 15 defenses. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't think they match up well. Something they are doing this week though that I think is really cool is what Thursday they're on, right? They're on the Thursday night game,
yeah.
And the Thursday night game, they are unveiling these jerseys. The white Bengal Tiger.
They're doing a whiteout?
Yeah.
They're doing a whiteout on Thursday Night Football.
This jersey is sick. This is an alternate jersey for them, and Thursday night will be the night that
I'm into that. That looks dope. Yeah, I like it a lot.
This is really cool. So what I will say, guys, is suspect some really fun cards in your 23 product with these jerseys, because I guarantee you they're going to be looking to add and ride these. They're really cool. Really neat jersey, so we'll get to see that on Thursday night.
Isn't Thursday night still? Don't they give everybody alternate jerseys on Thursday night?
Usually have their color rush or...
They usually do a color rush. I don't know if they do that for every team now, but they're allowed to wear an alternate.
Okay.
Who is it they play on Thursday night? Is somebody decent too? Was it like Jacksonville or something?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
Did those words just come out of your mouth?
I know.
This is amazing. Someone decent like Jacksonville.
Yeah, someone decent like Jacksonville.
I love it.
I know.
Let's go.
While we're talking about jerseys, guys, if you get a chance, swing by the shop here in store. We have added a ton of autographed jerseys. Also, they'll be getting imaged onto the website here soon. You'll have the ability to be able to buy them and have them shipped directly to you at home. Tons of players, multi-sports, some pop culture stuff, baseballs and pucks as well. So there's a whole bunch of autographed memorabilia. But Jimmy, kind of give us a rundown of some of the jerseys that you're excited that we have in shop.
So, we got Greek Freak. We got, let me just look around real quick. We got Julio Rodriguez, Acuna. We got the MVP, Aaron Judge. We go to this side of the building. We got Messi. We got Bill Russell. We have Sammy Sosa. We got a bunch of Jalen Waddle in the house.
Sandlot.
Little Anthony Edwards and Justin Fields. I think we have a Trey Lance. We have a bunch of different ones.
So Wander Franco. There's a ton of stuff, guys. So if you get a chance, come by the shop, check them out. That should be fun. Now, getting into some other NFL news, something that came down that's kind of important to Vegas was the Pro Bowl was announced. Okay, so go back about a month. They said Vegas is getting the Pro Bowl again. We were going to award it to another city, but we're going to give it back to Vegas because they didn't get it the first time. It was kind of like they were playing on it, but now we know why they were doing it, because they want to have it in Vegas on a regular basis.
Right.
And the reason being is because now it is no longer going to be the Pro Bowl. It's going to be a skills comp. And what you have is that the Pro Bowl that presented by Verizon will be a week-long celebration of player skills featuring an exciting new format spotlighting flag football. Now, it'll be a multi-day thing where you'll earn points, and I'm sure they'll have fun. As a fan, though, how fun is it going to be to go to these different different things? You're going to get to go to a kicking skill comp and let the kickers match up on trick shots or distance or whatever it is. That, to me, makes it a lot more fun.
I heard that Kamara's going to be in that.
Yeah, well, as long as he can knock someone out the night before. UFC will probably sanction a fight the night before, and then
that's what he pushed for.
Yeah.
Kamara pushed for a UFC to be one of the festivities at the thing, so it'll be
Who's
okay.
going to think you're taking shots at him? But no, I think this is big for Vegas. I think it's great for the NFL. I know that when you go to see the skill comps and you're only getting a real snippet of it, I think now when you go and you have the NFL's fastest man, that's actually going to be something that one of those guys is going to want to win. It's not going to be
because they're going to go out and they're going to get sponsors for these events. They're going to get money tied to it, and they're going to get it to where the players are actually trying to win these type of competitions. Yeah. They all are competitors that none of them want to go out there and lose. But if you go out there and just like that we've seen in the last 20 years of the Pro Bowl, these guys don't want to get hurt. They don't want to tackle. They don't want to do it. They're going through the motions, trying to get the game over with, get off the field, and move on. So going to it was already flag football, basically, right? It was touch.
It was boring.
It was boring. It was touch football.
And let's be fair, what this is, the flag football, all that flag football game is for is pregame and postgame autographs.
Right.
That's the autograph session
it's a
for
fan
the
experience.
week. It's a fan experience. That's what it's there for. The rest of the week will be the skills comp. The only thing I hope it doesn't take away is that the practices were a really good opportunity. So what I would hope is when you're doing an individual skill comp, if it's a defensive skill position, defensive backs matched up against each other, defending balls or whatever it is, that the offensive players are there supporting and signing autographs at the events. That's going to be the key, because that's what is selling these experiences, is the opportunity to have access to the players. Because I know that when you went to the practices, that's where you had the best chance to get an autograph, to see a player, to take a picture, whatever it was. And let's be honest, if you're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars to vacation to Las Vegas, to come here to be a part of this, you want it. High five somebody, get a pair of gloves, get something signed, take a picture with a player. You want to do that stuff.
You do. As a fan, you want to get autographs of these guys because that's the guys you watch on TV. You know what I mean? That's the true fan experience. So hopefully that's what comes with that.
And I think we all know. We were already the entertainment capital of the world. We are now the sports entertainment capital of the world.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to come to Vegas. We want to come to Vegas, and we live here. We get every single weekend, last weekend alone, with the big Triple G Canelo flight. Every single weekend, there's something big going on here in Las Vegas. Yeah. Now with the Raiders here, where the Aces just won the championship, we're getting ready
Knights are firing up.
Yep. We're gonna have a baseball team. We're gonna have a basketball team within the next 5 years.
They just started running their advertising this morning.
I just saw. I didn't even know we have a freaking lacrosse team.
We met on a flight when Hoodie and I jumped the other flight to go to Philadelphia. One of the kids is from Philly, and we sat with him and talked with him about 45 minutes before we boarded our flight.
Oh, one of the lacrosse players?
Tell us about it and everything. Tell us about his experience and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Where are they playing?
They're playing at the Orleans.
Yeah.
Oh.
You should have a lot of free tickets to go to that.
The Orleans?
Yeah. Aren't you guys big VIPs over there or something?
They might. I mean, not the Orleans Arena.
Oh, okay.
The showroom? Okay.
You're locked in. You're locked in at the showroom.
Stephen Wright or the Doobie Brothers? Okay. Not
All right, real quick before we move on. Tonight you have Cowboys-Giants. I know your heart's somewhere.
I can't wait. This might be the one game we win in the last 4 years against them. We haven't won in 3. We haven't beat the Cowboys in 3 years. So this is our night. If we're going to beat them, tonight's night. They don't have a starting quarterback. Michael Parsons has been ill.
Sick.
He's sick all week. He's throwing up or whatever he is. They have another guy that they just announced, Gallup's out again tonight.
So is Dalton Schultz tight end.
So if we don't win tonight, our team's not great. Fill me out.
Stop.
Team's not great.
Don't downplay it because you guys are 2-0.
But if we don't win the night against the Cowboys, you might not see me here tomorrow. I might be drowning my sorrows in a bottle of whiskey or something.
Right.
We have to
the way
win
I
tonight.
look at it is the Cowboys have nothing to lose. We have no Gallup, no Dalton Schultz, no Dak Prescott. Offensive line is all banged up.
Yeah,
Micah Parsons might sit, and we're on Monday Night Football against the Giants, who are in our division.
But Jerry's open to a quarterback controversy.
He's starting to get senile.
What was that? What was that?
That was him trying to hold the fans on and keep them from jumping off the ship early on. He was trying to say, hold on, he's just going to get us through until Dak gets back. No, Rush has zero chance of taking over that starting job. Zero chance.
It was funny, too. I saw one of the stats come up on ESPN about the game, and it said that if Cooper Rush were to win tonight, he'd be the first undrafted quarterback to win his first 3 starts in his NFL career. Like, that's a stat they found. You know what I mean? Like,
they're pulling.
Brady
guys.
went, 199? I'm just saying, guys, that not all your gyms are at the top of the draft.
I'm not, Cooper Rush is Cooper Rush. I'm not worried about it.
You know what it is, guys? I've been calling for it, and I got to say this really quick. We referenced the Mac Jones thing, and by no means do I want to see him not succeed and not do well. I want all those quarterbacks to be awesome, and I want the hobby just to flourish.
But you want to talk about Bailey Zappi.
But I love chaos in sports. I don't know why, but I love it. Like, I loved last night, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but I love that Judge got left on deck in a rainout. It's just, I love stuff like that. The chaos ensues. Fans lose their mind.
Against Boston, too, right?
Fans lose their mind. People, freak out, and this is one of those moments. And I've been calling for there to be absolute chaos with the Patriots and the Mac Jones scenario, and now we're getting that opportunity because you have Brian Hoyer coming in, and what we know about Brian Hoyer is he can't move.
Right.
So a pocket that would normally be moved for Mac Jones, he can't navigate it. So it's only a matter of time before he gets chipped up and something happens to him.
Bailey Zappi.
And Bailey Zappi makes his way in. I know it's not really going to happen, but man, you can pull for chaos. You can hope for chaos. We'll see what happens, but I do hope that Mac Jones gets back healthy quickly. Although high ankle sprain, it's usually never anything quick.
It's usually a few weeks. It'd be a few weeks. If you looked at his reaction, the whole rest of the year he's out.
Oh yeah, you'd have thought that he was already on.
He looked more hurt than Trey Lance did when he broke his ankle.
Trey was disappointed.
Yeah. And putting the towel over his head, and Mac Jones looked like he broke his ankle.
Yeah, but again, a high ankle sprain is no joke. That can be
it's very serious.
That can be pretty nasty. So.
Very serious.
All right, time for us to get into Jay's Fantasy Roundup. This portion of the program where Jay talks about fantasy. Finally, a time where all 4 guys that are on your fantasy graphic there actually are decent players on the week that they're in. So.
I love it. Right now, first thing I want to say is hats off. It's Khalil Herbert season. I have been talking about this guy all offseason.
You have.
David Montgomery gets hurt 3 carries into the game, and Herbert absolutely blows up. If for some reason he's available in your leagues, he's absolutely the #1 waiver wire ad, in my opinion. I looked at a couple of leagues, and obviously not the ones we play in because he's taken in all of those. But he's available in 30% of Yahoo leagues, 48% of CBS leagues. So this guy is out there in some leagues. So he needs to be the #1 waiver wire ad. I don't know how long Montgomery will miss with that ankle injury, but I have a feeling that Herbert could say, hey, you're not coming back so fast. I'm taking this job over. So he's something you want to add really quick. Obviously, you want to look at Alexander Madison because Dalvin Cook hurt his shoulder. Same dislocated shoulder he's had in the past. So they're calling it day-to-day. We don't know how serious it'll be, but you want to go out and pick up Madison just in case. Samaje Perine for the Bengals. He's clearly jumped over Chris Evans for the backup spot to Joe Mixon. Mixon didn't do a whole lot against that Jets defense, but Perine looked pretty good. So he's a speculative ad. A couple of wide receivers we actually mentioned earlier in the show too. Romeo Doubs. If he's available, go out and get this guy. I don't know how long. They put Sammy Watkins in the IR, so you know he's out for at least 4 weeks. I don't know how much time Christian Watson is going to miss. Josh Palmer. He was already the #3 there in LA with the Chargers. Jalen Guyton went down with that torn ACL, so he's obviously going to be getting more targets. Yep. Zay Jones in Jacksonville had another nice game. I think he's a nice complement to Christian Kirk for Trevor Lawrence. Mac Hollins, your boy Mac Hollins. We talked about him earlier in the show too. If Renfro misses any more time, it looks like they were keying on him pretty good. Obviously, Adams going to get the main coverage, so you want to go out and get a guy like Hollins who can play in your flex spot. He ended up having 25 or 26 points yesterday in PPR leagues. And if you're looking for a tight end, I have this guy buried in my depth chart, but this guy has been killing it every week. Tyler Conklin. Like Elijah Moore for the New York Jets has kind of been disappearing. And yeah, you have Garrett Wilson there, who's obviously emerging as that number one guy. But Conklin is the guy that's getting all the targets. And every week he's producing. So he's a guy that obviously Joe Flacco loves. When Zach Wilson comes back, we'll see if he keeps up that coverage there. But he's a guy I want to add if you're looking for a tight end, and especially with bye weeks coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think things are starting to come back to where they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Guys that weren't getting targets, we talked about the Devonta Smiths or touches like the Derrick Henrys. Those guys are. But every week, you're having one or two players that should be like a steady as they go guy having just a fall off. And it's kind of crazy. Joe Mixon was that guy this week.
Yeah.
Like 8 points in most leagues.
DeAndre Swift, by the way, he actually hurt his shoulder. And they're saying, his coach is saying that he might sit him a week or two just so he gets it fully healthy. And if that's the case, then Jamal Williams is the guy you're looking to add. Even if in deeper leagues, Craig Reynolds. And then I forgot to mention, I had it here marked, is Myles Garrett. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Obviously, it's not fantasy related, but he did get in a one-car accident. And they're saying it was a serious injury, but not life-threatening. He crashed his Porsche after practice at their facility. It happened around 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But he's doing okay. They say it's not life-threatening, but still a scary situation for the Browns.
That's not good.
Yeah, Myles Garrett in a one-car accident after practice.
Yeah, that's
showing off.
It's his Porsche. Maybe he just gassed a little bit too much and then just took off. I don't know. Or maybe someone cut out in front of him. You don't know. It wasn't. Another car wasn't involved, so we don't really know what happened.
You just hope that's not anything that affects his career overall or any of that, because good player there and definitely not a guy you root against. So we're going to get into plus or minus. This is our portion of the program where we talk about investments, talk about things that you can do with your collection, or some advice on things you might pick up or get rid of. What I wanted to touch on this week, guys, was there's really that big opportunity to kind of freak out right now, because we're looking at the 2021 class. We're looking at the 2020 product class. And most people who jumped into the hobby jumped in these last couple of years. And so they're all in on the 2020 and 2021 class. And now they're starting to freak out. I'm already starting to see guys trying to dump stuff. Guys jokingly coming in saying they're buying, Mac Jones at 20% of comps. You saw a fall off already. You've seen about a 10 to 15% decrease in Trey Lance. People are now starting to come back on the buy side, not fire sale him. So when you start looking at everything as a whole, and Jimmy, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I think we really need to expand the conversation, and that is that when you're getting into these investments, especially on the newer stuff, when you're getting into investments on newer players, you're getting investments on guys that yield high contact positions in the NFL, because we're talking NFL right now, you have to really consider how much leverage you're putting into that. Mm-hmm. What kind of a situation or system that you have. There's a chance that going back 3 weeks ago, our top 5 quarterbacks in the league are either hurt, throwing a bunch of interceptions, or are injured for the season. Guys that we were talking about already. Mm-hmm. Already injuries everywhere. We don't know what this Tua situation is. They say it's not a concussion. We don't know. Josh Allen might have a thumb issue now. We don't know. Mac Jones, out for multiple weeks. Trey Lance, out for the season. Mm-hmm. You've got other guys that are starting to get nicked up, banged up. Herbert's got ribs. I mean, we can go down the line. Remember, this is a violent sport, and this type thing happens. It's easy to freak out, though, and to fire sale everything out. And I think this is a time where if you were really invested into a guy, if you think that Herbert was your all-in, you're either buying more Herbert right now, or you're sitting still with what you have. You're not dumping it back into the market.
Yeah, and that's the fine line you have to play with all these quarterbacks. If you really believe in the guy, the market as a whole is down about 20% in the last 6 months. So you should be buying everything you can. If you can afford it, you should be buying it. If you believe in Herbert, you should be buying him. If you believe in Burrow, you should be buying him. If you believe in Tua, you should be buying him. Yep. Same thing with Tom Brady. I just took comps on my Tom Brady cards I bought over the summer. I'm down about 30% on those from what I bought just 4 months ago. The guy's coming back playing another year, for God's sake, and they're down. So I'm buying more Tom Brady, as much Tom Brady as I possibly can get right now. Same thing with Josh Allen. Buying as much as I can because as a market, it's down in a hole. If I believe in these guys long term, you buy them, and I guarantee you're going to make a profit on them.
Well, and this reminds me of when we talked about Luka. If you recall, right before the playoffs, about a month and a half out from the playoffs, we're like, look, if Dallas backdoors, gets in and gets a playoff series in, the Luka market is going to come back. So we were telling people then, now it's buy and hedge. So if you bought these guys high and you lost right now and you're sitting on your losses, you need to be going out and buying again to match them up now at the bottom of the market or what's near the bottom of the market to hedge out.
It's cost average. All you're doing is cost averaging down in a guy that you already believed in. We all believed in Luka. We still all believe in Luka. Well, his cards are down about 40% from the high of where they were. That his PSA silvers, at one point, I told a couple guys of the story. I had an opportunity right before he was in the playoffs. He was getting ready to almost make the NBA championship, and that's when the market was at its high. The PSA 10 silvers were selling for $13,000 a piece. I had a guy offer me 5 of them for $50,000, so it's basically $3,000 off each. I fly all the way to Tennessee, meet this guy at the airport. He picks me up. We sit down to do the deal. He gets cold feet. He's like, you know what? I'm so sorry you flew all the way out here. He's like, I just don't want to move him. I think if he goes to the NBA championship next week, that these cards are going to be worth $20,000. And he's probably right. And I couldn't disagree with him more. That's why I was willing to buy them for $10,000 a piece. I was going to drop $50,000 on it. Thank God it didn't happen, and I didn't get it. He gave me $500 and a plane ticket back home for my troubles, flying all the way out there. And I was like, all right, it is what it is. I didn't get the cards. Looking back on those cards now, they're selling for $3,000 a piece. They were selling for $12,000 to $13,000 at the high. They're selling for $3,000 now. So if you could get back that guy that owns those, if he still owns those 5, he should be buying up at least 5 at the market right now, because now he's no longer into them for 12. He's now into all 5 of those for $6,500. Guess what? That's something you could crawl out of. You ain't crawling out of $12,000-$13,000 on 5 cards. Yeah. But you can crawl out about $6,000 because they're going to creep back up to close to $6,000. That's when you get out and you get your money back and you say, phew.
Did he ever text you back after that, or like? Never?
He's still a friend of mine. We've done deals, so yeah. And
no regrets.
He still holds on to them. He has a bunch, and he's doing the right thing though. He's still buying, and he's been buying even since then. So he's into Luka for a lot of money. So for his hope and my hope, because I also have a lot of Luka, I hope he does well this year.
Now, there was a thing that came out, and we're going to reference one of the contributors here on YouTube, which is a sports card investor, Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson said that about 30% of his net worth is tied up into sports cards now. There's been a lot of back and forth about that statement from him on whether that's smart or not. And I guess I have a take on that a little bit, which is if you're like financially able to be liquid with that and do that, I think you're okay. If that's what it is, if it's more about you're investing for a long-term hold, if you're buying and selling and doing that, then you probably should be heavier invested, right? He seems to want to collect a little bit more and be more of the collector. The problem is that when you see some of these guys that came into the marketplace that were like, buy big, buy now, the market's to the moon, like all this stuff and everything. I remember a conversation when I first came on to Game Day that Jimmy and I had in regards to where the market is trending and how it's pricing people out of the market right now. And whenever that happens, that means it's about to burst quickly. And it did. Boy, did it bottom out, right? Came out from underneath people. Well, if you hadn't been in the hobby, if you hadn't been around, if you hadn't seen this happen, if you hadn't been in the world of collectibles even, just in general, to see that these waves and these times come, you wouldn't realize that this is something that actually normally happens. It just happened on such a grander scale because so many more people were invested into it. Yeah. It happens a lot in newer stuff. Newer stuff is the most volatile. It always has been. It always will be, right? New thing comes out. It's the hottest thing today. 3 days later, it's not quite as hot. 3 months later, it might not even be on the radar. And then another time around, it comes back. Your best investment, if you are worried about the volatility, is going to vintage players that are not going to do you to steer you wrong. Guys that are not going to ruin things, right? I hate to say it, but like a guy like Kobe is a perfect example. Kobe's a safe investment. There'll always be a collector for him. He's not going to make any other, mistakes in the public's eye and or on the court. None of that stuff is going to happen. What has happened with him is there. When you start looking at opportunities like that, those are going to be where if you want a safe investment, you're not going to yield the returns when a guy has an incredible week or 3, but you're at least giving yourself an opportunity to do it. Then that's where you need to trend your buying to. So I don't want people to freak out in the marketplace, but you definitely need to put in the time to really learn about the market a little bit more. Right? Like I seen people are paying 5x for Amon-Ra St. Brown right now. Now I said that receivers were going to be big. I said that receivers were going to be the play because 22 class is not very good. I don't think that's a secret to anybody. However, I don't think that when the guy goes 5x is the time that you should be trying to load up on Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you weren't already loading up on him, because we all thought he was pretty good at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Then you're missing out.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to buy the hype on anybody.
Right.
Anytime there's a hype behind it, if anytime you see the guy on ESPN, you should not be buying him. Because guess what? If he's on ESPN, you and 10 million other people are watching that same clip of him every single week. And you know what 2% of those 10 million people that watch it are doing? Are jumping on eBay and buying his cards. Because that's the collector in them.
But it's hard also because, like you say, like the guy is like retired and he's vintage or whatever. But like you have stuff come up like the whole Brett Favre thing. So like if that was your guy and you collected Brett Favre, and obviously he wasn't around during the time where all this national treasures type stuff was coming out in his rookie year and everything.
Yeah.
But he goes out and makes a terrible mistake with this money where he's taking money from the welfare basically in Mississippi so they could build a new volleyball gymnasium for where his daughter goes to college. So now he's caught in a whole bunch of controversy. So it's like that type of stuff. You never know when that's going to strike. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like,
and even when that happens, though, and here's the thing. In that market, the true Packer fan is still going to buy Brett Favre if they're a Brett Favre fan.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to do anything at this point that, unless he, and I hate to say it, because you have seen it, kill someone or something like that. You can think about, go back to O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was in the top of the market, top of the world. O.J. Simpson rookies were unbelievable before the whole Nicole
but I bet
Simpson
people
thing.
still collect him.
Right?
And they do.
They do. And that's the thing, but the vintage, it's just, there's less volatility to it. Whereas in the new stuff, there is that volatility. There's the Trey Lance is on the buy high. Everybody's buying. Trey Lance is, 2 weeks before the season. And then what happens? He gets injured, and there you go.
Well, I definitely I need to get on Jeff Wilson's 30% because I'm about 100% in cards of my net worth. I think everything that I own and everything that I have is all invested in cards. You look around, that's what I got. I don't have any money in the bank, but I sure do have a lot of cardboard.
He's tech investor. That's where he came from. You got to remember, he came from a tech investment world into sports cards.
Yeah.
And that's where he came from and brought his stuff in. A couple real quick things to talk about. My guy was chasing the 700, and he got there. Albert Pujols, and he did it in an incredible setting. Hit number 700 at Chavez Ravine against the Dodgers, a team that he played for recently, a team that he was beloved by the fans. He was loved in Southern California while he was there and with the Angels. So the fact that he got to go there, do something special in their ballpark, but still do it for the Cardinals, I think is really cool. As you mentioned before the show, there was a really nice moment from the Dodgers as well for him. And
for Molina as well. So I'm not a Dodger fan. You know how much I hate the Dodgers, almost as much as the Yankees. But I thought it was pretty classy of them to get Molina and Pujols. They got them golf bags, custom golf bags, with the teams they've played on. And kind of presented it before the game, and you don't see that very often, especially with rivals, which obviously the Cardinals and Dodgers are pretty much rivals. I just thought it was a pretty classy move by the organization to do that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you've seen it a couple times, and you've seen it when Jeter went around, and a lot of people gave him rocking chairs, and
Poppy was the same way.
And then they did it. They give Pujols and Molina. I think they got surfboards when they were playing the Angels or something recently. Yeah. It's a cool gesture. It just shows you that, hey, baseball, these guys, they're a big family. They respect the game. And they respect each other.
Well, and I'll tell you, in the world of baseball, baseball players just in general root for each other, even if they're on other teams. They like to see guys that are in positions similar to them have success because it does a couple things. One, it makes the sport interesting. Two, it drives up wages. Right, and that makes it. If that guy's playing really good and we're playing really good, there's a more competitive market for these guys, and so on. So that's always a good thing. And then, Pujols, tip the cap to him, 700 done the right way. I want to say that we think that he's been clean his entire career. Maybe not so early on, but just because of who he played with. But, definitely think that Pujols did it the right way for the majority of the years. And you can't not like him. You can't. And then Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge was left on deck. We mentioned this last night. He was left on deck on that pursuit of 61. Couple, things here. Game, I guess, rained out today.
Yep.
Probably
Canceled.
not making that game up, guys, just so you know, because this is about done. Only way that Major League Baseball will make this game up is if it matters for any standings that a standing can change. Will they make this up in the final,
I don't think they will. The Yankees, last I looked, I thought they were up 7 games, and we just looked earlier before the show started, and there's 11 games left. The odds of them losing that 7 games is very slim. They're not going to move up to the number 1. Houston's already locked in the number 1 slot, so they're going to fall into the number 2. They won't make it up. We're just missing out on 3 more at-bats or 4 more at-bats for Judge to try to break the record. We'll see what happens. He's got 10 more games.
Yeah. Well, and I do have to give it a little shameless plug of a friend of mine, Daniel Walken from Memory Lane in California. They have a $2 million bounty on home run number 62. So if you know the person who ends up with that ball, give Daniel and his staff a call because they're buyers. And they've set
And if
the
you're
bar
going
high.
to a game in the next 10, you better sit in left field.
It's guaranteed he's breaking the record.
So if you want the hottest seat in all of baseball is going to be in left field in any Yankee game for the next 10.
It is.
What if he doesn't do it?
Oh, he's doing it.
He will.
There's no doubt.
Team. I mean, at this point, like
If I was a team not in the playoffs,
but
I would walk him.
Like last night.
If that happened, they would throw the ball at the next person's head coming out. Guaranteed.
Bello pitched to him last night because Bello's trying to make a mark. And I think that's what you're going to see. Is you're going to see a lot of these guys that are on teams that maybe aren't in the playoff run at this point, whatever, and they're all going to show, well, I shut him down while he was doing X. And I think that's the other side of it. Because there's a competitive angle with sports players. That's that. Sure, in the back of their mind, they're worried about giving it up, but they're also at the same time want to walk away. I mean, the story down the years down the road, I was X, Y, and Z pitcher. I struck Judge out 3 times in a game while he was pursuing 62. Like, that matters to a guy.
What if Judge decides to partake in the national anthem standoff and gets ejected? Like Robbie Ray and Luke Weaver did the other day. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
You saw they got ejected.
Yeah.
Literally, the national anthem was over. The teams went to the dugouts. The game was getting ready to start, and they stood there like kind of staring at each other. Well, like their hand over their heart. The national anthem was over already, but they stayed out there, and they got ejected. They got ejected by the umpire because he was fed up. The game was ready to start.
They were showing up the game, is what he said.
Yeah.
It just shows you how old baseball is.
Yeah, I mean, and that's...
I couldn't stop laughing when I saw it. Like, is this real? And I started reading it, and I was like, this is great. Like, they're literally just goofing off. It was great.
You mentioned how old baseball is. Let's talk about something young really quick, and that is the youngest team in Major League Baseball locked their division up yesterday, and that is the Cleveland Guardians. Took the AL Central. Now, I had thought that at the beginning of the season it was the White Sox division to lose. They definitely lost it. Never put it together as a lineup.
The lineup is beat up.
And it was
can't stay healthy.
So good, but they just couldn't stay on the field together. Mm-hmm. I can't remember. I saw a stat, something like that, but it might have been like 140 different game lineups were put out. Like they never had almost didn't have a 3-game run of the same lineup in the field.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's tough. That's really tough. But, hey, hats off to the Guardians, Cleveland. That's a really neat thing. Baseball kind of needs that. They kind of need those type teams to, the Houstons and those to be relevant because it balances that shift of power everywhere. And they're kind of a scary team. I don't know that you want to play them in the playoffs too much because they're such the wild cards. They really are. Yeah,
you never want to play that young team that doesn't know they shouldn't be there.
Right.
That's
and
right.
that happens with, the Rays a while back, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it happens in basketball and it happens in other sports. You never want to play that team where they're so young where they're like, oh shit, what's it matter? Let's go play to win because we shouldn't be here.
I would love to see the Yankees match up with the Guardians.
Oh, so we can smash them?
You and Ripper can go head to head.
Johnny would be under the desk crying when I'm done with them. We're going to destroy that team if we play him. I'll lock it up. We're destroying everybody in the AL. In the World Series, we're going to have our trouble. We're destroying everybody in the AL. Lock it up.
You don't have home field, though.
It does not matter. We are locking it up.
The Dodgers win their division 19 games out, and with like 13, 14, 15 games left, whatever it was, they locked up the number 1 seed in the National League. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Right now, they can send everybody on vacations and let them go get 2 weeks vacation, come back, play all the young players in the league. You know,
that's like an NFL team getting that bye week and then fall flat.
Yeah, they are a team. And I will say this: the Dodgers did need it at the right time because they can skip starts on guys like Gosselin. And stuff
they can skip starts here and there. Yeah,
and that's some of the stuff that was needed, but. Pretty interesting. Johnny Ripper will be on tonight during Monday Night Football. Bills prediction: 26-21 Giants over the Cowboys.
Easy does it.
Yeah, see, Jimmy likes that.
That would be my winning ticket right there.
The Cowboys fan bet against himself.
Yep, and I bet Dave a nice steak dinner over at Texas Roadhouse. So your boy's going to be eating good soon.
How do you bet the game? Or
no, I don't ever bet against the Giants.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You don't bet.
He doesn't bet with his heart.
Oh, I buy my happiness every single
Never.
week.
He doesn't bet with his heart.
I always take the other team because you buy your happiness. Because if I bet the Cowboys and they lose, now I'm really pissed because I lost money and I lost the Cowboys. If I bet against them, at least hey, the Cowboys lost and I'm pretty pissed off, but here's my consolation prize. I got $100.
I got my cash. I mentioned it yesterday while I was on stream, but the sports books yesterday cleaned up here in Las Vegas. Yeah. There was literally almost no parlays out there that did not have either the Chiefs or the Bills on them. And one of those two games were on there with those teams winning. The biggest hedge was the Chiefs. The Chiefs was on 75% of tickets or something like that were out on parlays. It was unbelievable.
And if you look at all the lines too, they baited you right into it. Yeah. And it's how are these guys that damn good?
Yeah.
They baited you into the Buffalo Bills line. Are you kidding me? They're at the Dolphins and only laying 3 points.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world was like, oh, the Bills are going to go down there and crush them.
Right.
And they were. But they didn't cover. They didn't win the game. Same thing with the Chiefs. They're winning the whole game, and they lose.
Right.
It's the Chargers. Jacksonville's coming in and play the Chargers, flying all the way across the whole United States to play them. That's a game that the Chargers win 90% of the time.
Yeah, usually the East Coast team traveling west.
Healthy Herbert, that game is won by the Chargers, but they would have got their money's worth. They definitely got fought back against, but... Yeah. So we'll see. The way the sports betting works, though, right? You bet it last week, you lose. If you jump the trend and you flip this week, that's never the good play.
Stay strong with the big teams this next week. Right. I'm going to hammer the big teams that we're talking about. The Bills bouncing back, the Chiefs bouncing back, the Chargers bouncing back. I'm fading the Steelers every game they play. Whoever they play, I'm betting against the Steelers. Yeah. There's just certain trends that I'm going to stick with throughout the whole year, and hopefully we'll see what happens.
What are the Steelers versus Broncos?
Oh, God. I probably won't touch that game because those are two teams that – what's the score going to be, 3-0?
You just have to go. Russell Wilson will find a way to get them in field goal range at the end.
3-3 tie.
Yeah.
Ending in a tie.
Yeah, it's
something terrible. And the Seahawks are also terrible. Bet against the Seahawks every week. They will not win another game this year. They'll be very lucky to win.
Shots fired at Avery.
Yeah, Avery's has no chance, bud.
Sorry. Guys, if there's anything we do for you, let us know. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you guys so much. Of course, next time we see you,
let's go G-Men. Let's go Monster Hunter, boys.
Let's go.